Thanks for stopping by the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit the like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into the real of reality TV.
Talk to me nice, talk to me honestly. Look in my eyes, don't let it fall on me. Say you're a good guy, make me believe it. Don't wanna hear it, I wanna see it. See how rewind, when we rewind, feels so nice.
So I talked a little bit about how just as these last few episodes have been playing out, I don't like some of the things that I'm seeing, and it's been making me question that old saying, birds of a feather flock together, because it seems to me that Shamia's feathers, at least during the filming of this show, they look a whole lot like Porsha's, because clearly Portia's rich African situation did not work out for her the way that she was hoping and planning, even though right now she's still in that house and either somebody else is helping her to pay those bills, or she has access to Simon's cash, or she's behind on some of those mortgage payments. Because just because you're still in that house, it doesn't mean that all is well. I mean, look at Kim Zolciak, right? I think her and her man finally had to move out of that foreclosed mansion. But I digress. Shamia, with that last episode and her saying pretty much that, look, I'm not saying that what Portia said was right, but it's none of my business. But if you are laughing along with it, then you're complicit with her saying that she would F somebody else's husband, especially when you got one. So when Angela checked her on it during that episode and they were at Cynthia's Lake Bailey, Shamia was saying some things that were just kind of weird. Like she was talking about how she just loves to laugh and she was laughing at her uncle's funeral. And like, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? I don't know. But she commented on social media, because I'm just guessing, because I'm not on Twitter like that, call X, whatever it is, but maybe people were tagging her and calling her out because she did a social media post. And let's just get into what she had to say. So you can see the post here, but she says, damned if I do, damned if I don't. I have learned the hard way that I need to mind my business. I apologized about laughing and my part in it. Hands up, like shrugging emoji. That's not my fight. If at Angela Oakley 34 can forgive the person that actually said it, then surely my laughter can/should be forgiven. I've never said that it was okay for her to say that. Furthermore, I don't have to publicly chastise people. I can hold them accountable privately. Bottom line, she's a grown woman. Not my problem, not my fight. And she added her. So Angela responded and she said, if my memory serves me correctly, you didn't apologize for your part until Portia's event, which I accepted. At the Bailey queue, you actually doubled down and said you didn't see anything wrong with your response, bringing up jokes about your uncle, like I just said. Hence, the end of the conversation. It's actually okay. I misjudged and I had a higher expectation for you. Again, I move different with my friends. It's perfectly fine. I now understand. And so clearly, Shamia and Angela, they're not friends like that. But Angela was speaking from the perspective of you being a married woman. And like, I don't care if that's your best friend. You're okay with her saying, I should F her husband. Like, how was that even funny? How would that even be a joke? And I'm not saying Shamia publicly chastising her like a child, because clearly Portia's an old hole. So she ain't nobody's child, right? But I'm just saying, like, Angela She could tell the energy, like, I'm not playing the sound, but you could see how she's just, like, so defensive, and when she brought up the joke about her uncle, she was like, "Okay, girl, I'm done with this. Clearly, you're not getting the picture, and I'm not gonna continue to sit here and try to paint one for you." But she is not understanding, she's not reading the room, and then maybe she should have just kept that social media post to herself because people really were not here for it. A lot of people were just like, "Girl, it's ridiculous for you to come out here and act like it's not a big deal." And then you're meeting up with Drew's husband, hopefully soon to be ex-husband, but then you're sitting there laughing with this chick about saying something about screwing Angela's husband. And then her sitting on the show during the confessional, I should say, to say, "I am sorry." That was patronizing, and it wasn't apologizing to Angela. It was talking about Angela and basically being like, if you ever saw that episode of Martin when he was supposedly proposing to Gina, and Gina was like, basically, "Look, we've been together all these years. It's time for you to shape up or ship out." And Martin was like, "Okay, Gina, I will marry you. Damn. Are you happy now?" Like, who would want to receive something like that? So, what Shamia was doing in that confessional is the equivalent of when Martin was telling Gina, like, "Look, if you want to get married, damn, let's just go ahead and do it, all right? So you can just leave me alone." Like, that's just nobody wants to accept something like that. It's not even genuine. So Shamia is like, people were feeling her as a fan favorite because they felt like, oh, she's authentic because she's talking about how she blew up his bathroom and he still called her the next day and they continued to date and eventually he proposed and now they've been married all of these years. Okay, cool on that front. But Portia has not really shown herself to be a real friend to her, but yet she's upholding her in her wrong. So I don't know. I'm just not liking a lot of things that I'm seeing. And like somebody said in my comments, it was something along the lines of, look, Shamia and Portia, they're really not that much different. Just things happen to work out for Shamia, and it didn't quite work out the way Portia was hoping. Because I don't know if Shamia's man was with somebody prior to her getting with him, but clearly Portia's was. I don't care if the relationship was broken, I don't care if it was toxic. He was married, okay? And, speaking of being married, look, Portia, this stuff about getting mad at Dennis because he was filming with Drew, and I asked him not to do that, and this and that and the other, and blah, blah, blah. That's all a storyline, okay? Because she didn't sign that contract with the intentions of even discussing Dennis, I'm quite sure. But since things did not roll out the way that she was hoping for. I mean, she's the one that filed for divorce. I mean, she could have continued to stay in it. But and hey, listen, because I think Simon is still in ICE detention. Look, I don't know. I don't know what the life of trying to hook up with a man just for the sake of what he has. I don't know that life. So I can't say, well, if Portia just didn't file for divorce, maybe things would have worked out differently for her and she wouldn't have to be paying all these attorney fees and all this other stuff. I don't know because he could have still gotten detained by ICE if she didn't file for divorce. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, Portia talking about loyalty and she had already talked to Dennis about not filming with Drew. I just am like, this storyline is sad and tired. And I just don't think that she really cares that much about Dennis. And then when I see Shamia meeting up with Drew's husband, even though they are going through a divorce, she is still his wife. And it's a toxic relationship. If these chicks are, well, clearly they're not about girl code, but if she cares so much about Portia's feelings and Drew not filming with Portia's baby daddy, not Portia's ex-husband, Baby daddy, baby daddy. It's okay for her to meet up and talk about working with Drew's husband, albeit they're going through a divorce. And Drew may put a smile on her face, and a lot of people call Drew a liar. I don't know what all of that really is about, but clearly she has been in a toxic marriage. If they can't have sympathy for her just on that front and empathize with her that she's got children and she's having to live under the same roof with a man that has been despicable to her, that's been out here screwing around and cheating on her and tracking her and all of the other stuff that she's alleging, and you're comfortable with meeting up with him, then I have to question your sanity and your morals or lack thereof. I'm just that storyline about her getting upset about Drew and Dennis filming, they were like literally legitimately working. And Drew's got the proof, which I feel is something that Portia, and I'm not even going to just say Portia. Now I'm starting to look at Shamia sideways and say she might be a little jealous when it comes to Drew's singing career too, because all I keep hearing about is Shamia with the, the little quips and digs at Drew, saying, Drew, this who you need to get with. You need to get a RL. And, talking about how they've been in the studio and laying down tracks and making some beats. If you remember when Nene was saying that back in the day. But Drew's actually doing this, whether you like her vocals or you like her music or not, it's real. It's real. And Shamia, although, and I say this because this is a real statement, because there are a lot of people that feel like, oh, if somebody has more than you material wise, there's no way they can be jealous of someone who has less material wise. That is not true. I've dealt with that in my lifetime. I never understood it back in the day because I felt that same way. It's like, what is she jealous of me for? Material wise, she actually has a whole lot more than I do, but it's the potential that some people see in you, it's the gift that you have. Sometimes people, they can really get intimidated by that, and I believe that jealousy is a spirit that people embody that some of them don't even realize that they actually do. So, I feel that in some way, Shamia is a little bit jelly of Drew and her singing career. If you go back to those couple of episodes when she was in the studio and Angela and Drew came to support her, and I mean, Shamia was feeling herself and she can sing. Obviously, she definitely is a whole lot better than Portia, right? But Portia's star has been able to shine a whole lot more than Shamia. And Shamia has been, I guess, okay to be in the background, behind the scenes, or like some people call her, being Portia's lapdog. But this thing with Drew, and now you're meeting up with her husband that she's having issues with and is really trying to drag her down. I just don't like that at all. I'm not liking what I'm seeing. And so I'm not here to say that I hate Shamia. Don't know the chick, obviously, but I'm just questioning a whole lot more. And that's not hard for me because I don't care if she has this amazing mansion and driving $500,000 vehicles. In my personal opinion, I feel is absolutely ridiculous, but that's just my opinion. You do what you do. If you got it, you got it. Hey, have at it if that's what you want to do. But just because you got all that and you have a beautiful family and all of that stuff, it doesn't mean that you're walking in integrity and doing everything right. And we're none of us are always right all the time. But it's just one thing when you're just like you're you're okay with just being like, you know what, whatever. I tried. I'm sorry with that condescending tone. When no, you're not really apologizing. You might be sorry, you might be a sorry individual, but you're not apologizing and you can keep it. But the storyline with Portia being mad about Dennis filming with Drew, child, please. Okay. And I'm starting to really feel, I know a lot of people call Drew a liar, but I'm really starting to feel that Drew has been genuine in her surprise shock moments of like, is Portia really doing this right now? Is this really happening? Because I'm lost. I really don't understand this. This does not make sense to me. I'm really starting to feel that Drew was being sincere in those feelings about how Portia's been moving with her. Because it's like, girl, I'm going through a divorce just like you are, and I'm just working. And he really has been like a brother to me. And last I heard, you didn't even want what's in between his legs, and I don't want it either. I'm just working with him. So, guys, I'm I don't know how much longer this is going to go on. And Portia said she's done with the situation. That's what she said in the last episode. But whatever, because now she's filming with Drew. I mean, she's filming with Dennis on her YouTube channel. Dennis is all up in Simon's house. It's weird. All of it is weird to me. I want to know what you guys think, so you let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for being here, liking, and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.